So for those of you who are here a little longer, you will remember that I started this series on Czerny Bach in this sense that I compared Czerny's metronome marks, which he gave in his Bach edition in the 19th century. I compared those with performances of today. If you haven't seen those series, it's from 2 years ago, I think. I will link it in the description box. I'll make also a new playlist of that so that all these, because I will go to number 15 in one straight line, I would say. So all these videos will go into that playlist, and I'm doing this because this will also be part of the book. So Czerny edited or published as part of, as a request of Peter's edition. So you had in the 19th century the revival of Bach, I would say, not a real revival in a sense, but Bach got printed and got played more, studied more, and you had different editions, but the Czerny edition together with Griepenkerl joined the club a little bit later. They didn't get along very, very well, I think, Czerny and Griepenkerl, but that's for another time. And so Czerny was particularly there for the keyboard music. So you have an edition that got maybe today, in today's eyes, is a little bit too much, filled with too much annotation. But in those days, it was very well respected. Czerny was on the European scene a very well respected pianist and teacher. Even people like Chopin copied his tempo indications and other indications in the scores of their students. Brahms later would say to Clara, playing Bach from Czerny's edition, you can only admire the fingering that he gave. So in a sense, yes, it's a very annotated, personalized edition, I would say, but it gives a very pretty informative insight in how this Beethoven tradition played Bach. It's also the disclaimer that Czerny makes at the beginning of the book, the particular part where he says he collects all the easy pieces, not unimportant to have the disclaimer there, or this to know this, that in the book with the inventions he has also this small prelude. So he says, well, I'm collecting here the easy pieces. Well, it's to be seen if the metronome marks suggest that. But also he says the tempo indication that I give is partly because I know that tempi went up in the 18th century, so same story as in the 19th century, so you have to take that into account. But many of these tempi are recollections as I remember how my teacher Beethoven played Bach. And that's interesting because Beethoven is a second generation Bach student. I'm not saying that he played like Bach, but I mean, step by step by step, you're coming into the 18th century. And I will make in the future videos about comparisons between Czerny and, for instance, Quantz. It's very interesting to do that. So the guy was not a complete lunatic. I suggested that in the title of the first video that has now more than 100,000 views. And it's an important video. If you haven't seen that, you should see it, because a lot of elements that we're talking about also in respect to other music like symphonic and piano music is already there. So it's, if you haven't seen the series, I suggest you go from the first, and then you go, you continue. So just to give you a little summary, is here the overview of Invention number 1. Czerny gives 138. If you go on IMSLP, take the right edition. There are editions that have the name of Czerny with not the right metronome marks anymore. And then you have these pianists and clavichord and harpsichord players, Gould, Schiff, Leonhardt. I'm now having my own name here. By the way, the first videos, I wasn't there. The second and the third, maybe yes, was a suggestion to take my performance on YouTube as well. And that was before my metronome time, so in my innocent period, so to say. It's interesting also for me to compare. You have Koopman, Gieseking, Meyer, Nikolayeva, and Lisitsa. Those are the 9 names that also will be compared, and those charts will go into the book. This is copied directly from the Excel sheet where I collect the numbers. Interestingly enough, nobody reaches the 100%. It will not be for all the inventions. I think in 5 of them is 1 or sometimes 2 pianists to reach single beat, but I showed you the result as well. But very interesting that for the first, like, the majority circles around whole beat. Koopman is exactly whole beat. I was about whole beat. Leonhardt is about whole beat. Schiff is even slower than whole beat, so than Czerny. Gieseking is there. Meyer is almost there. Even Lisitsa is 83%. And it's important to know that Lisitsa makes a disclaimer on her channel where she says, I see the inventions as study material, so I play them as fast as I can. Okay, so this is an interesting thing already. I just mentioned it now again, that Czerny indicates these pieces as easy. And Lisitsa, not particularly a pianist that struggles with technique, says, I'm playing it as fast as I can. And she is there on 83%. On average, 56%, which is pretty close to whole beat. So for many people, this was an eye-opener. There's a reason why I start the series again. And this introduction will be a little bit longer than for the rest of the series. So the rest will be like just giving you the chart, giving you the overview, and then we come to who is closest to whole beat and who is closest to single beat. And if nobody reaches single beat, I will speed that recording up. So for instance, for the second one, same situation here, 52 on average. Several people are below whole beat. So 32% Gould, Schiff 37%, I was 39%, 44%, 46%, 47% for Koopman, and then you have a jump to Gieseking 64, 69, and 95. So Lisitsa was almost there. But in general, on average, 52% for a piece that's only Allegro. 126, by the way. If you think that's pretty fast, we are still below the Hammerklavier Sonatas 144. Huh? So the strange thing is that when we consider Bach Czerny, and then I will continue, not digress too long, but when we consider those metronome marks, we are so used still to that music in kind of whole beat compared to Czerny. Regardless, pianists and like clavichord players or harpsichord players, that it's a shock for us to hear that music in single beat. Not all of the inventions, but even the inventions that are matched, where we match single beat. Glenn Gould will be one of the names. He is he's to the both sides extreme there, but then the reaction of people will be totally reversed of what will happen when we present our Hammerklavier Sonata. In the case of the Hammerklavier Sonata, they will say, like, how dare you play that so slow? It's like ridiculous. I don't see the line. I don't feel the line. Practice a little bit more. But when people play those Bach pieces in speeds that are actually not there at the same level, they say, how dare you play that music so much too fast? It's the same. Hammerklavier fugue is a little bit more complex even. So this is why this is so eye-opener, such an eye-opener for people. So and then we had the third invention that got as an average 60%, and there actually in Leonhardt, Nikolayeva, the pianist, was on 50%, and in total 60%. So Lisitsa 84%. That 16% gap is a lot, guys. So for this one today, the fourth invention, this is a kind of anticlimax for the whole beat people here, because now we have a recording where two pianists reach a single beat, and Lisitsa goes even beyond that. So if I pull up the score before we start the comparison, you see it's a 3/8 signature, and there is not really something weird in this sense of 30-second notes of really like a very dense harmonic progression. So it's pretty open, and the mistake that some people make, or many people make, that's that 3/8 is always a light one beat time signature, so one strong beat per bar, and then you go to the next. That's true in some cases. Here in this case, the notation is open. Yes, you have 16th notes. You have not a too complex harmonic structure, but if you see in motives, you see, for instance, here, you have the diminished 7, down and up. That's very significant. So you should make this motive clear as a musician. How much? That's up to you, but I should hear that. So there's an indicator that the 3/8 signature already in Bach's time was used not as an alternative to 3/4. It was lighter than 3/4, but it has some weight. The eighth notes here have more weight than the eighth notes in 3/4. And it's not on a level 1 to 2, but there is room in between, you know, and this piece certainly brings you somewhere in the middle, I would say. The later you go to the 18th century, and certainly in the 19th century, 3/8 becomes sometimes even an alternative for 3/4, but with a little bit more, you know, attention for detail and articulation, oftentimes loaded with 30-second notes. We will go later to another one in 3/8 here in the Inventions, where Bach actually uses a much heavier even 3/8 than this one. So Also in this one, you should be able to hear the 3/8 notes. And it's actually also demonstrated here, for instance, in passages like this, where you have the trill on the second 8th note. When you have a shift of accentuation in a piece like that, you can be pretty sure that there is a need for the 3/8 notes to be really felt. And now you would say, well, if you have one beat in a very fast tempo, I mean, there still you have a notion of the 8th note. You can count it, but it's not heavy enough to bear the weight, to have the weight of that ornament. With the shift on accent, on the real accent on the second beat, what happens there is you have still an accent on one, but the second beat becomes more important. So in combination, you have that a few more times here. So in combination with the motives also at the end, you hear many recordings that are going really over the speed intended by Bach. They will have a huge retenue here. At the end, of course, you will hit your face to the wall when you drive like that so fast. So you have to pull the brakes much earlier, and that happens oftentimes. So having said that, I will give you for each invention a little bit of background of notation. We're going to listen to an overview of 9 performances. Here they are. So if we take the overview here of the performances that I just shared with you, my performance here is the slowest, 48%, so it's about whole beat. Nikolayeva 60%, Leonhardt 63%. You will remember the gap with Koopman, go back and check that, 75%. It's very interesting also to do this comparison again, because you will see it's 12% in tempo. And if you want to really feel firsthand how important tempo choice is, see how much the piece changes. I'm not saying that Koopman is right or wrong. I just say it's a huge change there. 79% Gieseking, Gould makes another jump, 90%, Schiff 98%, Meyer 100% is exactly single beat, and Lisitsa goes over that. And in general here 81%. This is the fourth invention, is one of those inventions that where people are playing in general very fast. And I think with Schiff you can hear it. He has this clear, people think 3/8 is just instead of 1, 2, 3, 1. You have to feel the 8th notes there. But again, 3/8, I will come back to that, other time signatures as well. Also because it's for Beethoven very important. 2/4 is also one of those time signatures that are misunderstood. Alle breve, things like that. Notation is not so hard to understand in basics, but you have to know some principles. So what I'm going to do now is to share with you the 2 performances that are whole beat and single beat. I don't have to adjust. So here for the first invention, and quote me, I never said that single beat tempi are always impossible. My point is that in many cases they don't make sense. I think here they don't make sense, but in many cases they are impossible, but not in all cases. So here I will share with you my performance and that of Meyer, and then you can judge for yourself. So yeah, there you have it. And interesting, I just heard that together with you that Marcelle Meyer, a great pianist, she just played one of those trills on the second beat. She left the others away. I mean, it's telling. It's something. I mean, you have to decide for yourself. This one beat performance. Also at the end, to pull the brakes. I mean, because you're hitting with your face to the wall there. I mean, it's a musical solution, but it's always telling when people have to use excessive rubato or ritenuto that there is something not right. Also, keep in mind that what Czerny wrote in the preface, I will stress it in every video, he considers this to be easy music. I mean, and he didn't say like easy in playing. The inventions are really difficult. They're really difficult to play very well. The symphonias go one step further even. It's crazy polyphony that you have to do, complete independence. What he meant, of course, was this is very well for beginners or for, and we do that in music schools today, but can you see any student or kid from 7, 8 or 9 years play what Marcelle Meyer does that there? And yet, in Chinese time, that would have been all possible. Okay, guys, next episode will be shorter. Just stick to the chart, the comparison overview, and I will share the result in single beat or make sure that I have a digitally adjusted version show to have you experience what actually Czerny in single beat there is. And next time will be a very cool episode because the fifth one, there is a lot that we can share about that. It's a complex piece as well. If you don't want to miss that, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss those uploads. And if you do that, we see each other very soon again. Bye.